Hello and welcome to the Critically Clueless. I'm the Monk, and today we are in Final Fantasy VII, do another Game Pass Spotlight review. Now obviously this game is very old, it's been reviewed probably hundreds and thousands of times, however, it is on Game Pass, and it is one of the greatest games probably ever made, so I would be a fool not to do a quick little review about it. Final Fantasy VII is based in Midgard, a city controlled by a mega corporation. The #1 Mako reactor has just blown up, sabotaged by a rebel group called Avalanche, who was secretly formed to wage a rebellion against the corporation. An organisation in which is absorbing all Mako energy and destroying the very planet. This game, of course, has been developed by Square Enix and published by them as well. It's on the PlayStation, the Xbox, the Switch, and I believe you can even get it on your phone nowadays, guys. Kind of crazy. It will currently set you back at around £10. Of course, it really depends where you're buying it, why you're buying it, how you're buying it, but it's around those kind of prices. Now this game is an absolute classic. It may be the very reason why PlayStation is so popular today. It kind of launched the console into next level, stratosphere. Of course, back then the PlayStation was, I don't even know what this came out on, maybe PlayStation 1, double check. But it was kind of one of the first JRPGs to even drop in the Western countries, and it made an absolutely huge splash. It really did kick off the PlayStation era, and with an absolute bang. This game is majorly in depth. You have to think that this game is so small. If you was to download it on your console right now, it would take up almost no space at all. And within that game, they managed to get so much information. Now, of course, this is a turn-based game. Turn-based combat isn't so much popular today. It was a massive thing back then, but it really done a great job in what it did. Now, of course, this game wasn't voice acted. It was a lot of text-driven based stuff. But the music, the atmosphere that this game often managed to create was so iconic. And that kind of music today, if you heard it, it really brings you back to when maybe you very first ever played this game. Now, like I said, Xbox right now, it is on Game Pass. If anyone has not played this game, give it a go. It's incredibly in-depth. So basically the idea of this game is, for anyone that hasn't played it, you take on Cloud. Now it's an RPG story-driven game. You basically have to save everyone. There's a love story that kind of drives this game forward. And you basically follow this character as he goes on his journey. He has to collect Guardian forces and materia and kind of, battle against the forces of darkness. It's a huge love story to RPGs, if you like. In fact, the developers that actually made this game loves Star Wars themselves. That they even put in a little Star Wars reference within this game. I think there's within almost every single Final Fantasy game. Again, I'm not 100% sure on that, but let me know down in the comments if you know exactly what I'm talking about. And if no one does, then I'll pin a comment and tell you. Now, like I've already said, this game is so in-depth. I think when I very first played it, I went for the Guardian Forces, which are basically these massive monsters that you can summon. That they're under your control. You can get them to do these absolutely gigantic, powerful attacks. You kind of summon them out of the sky. They come in and save you. Save you in many different ways. But you've also got magic powers. Within this game, you can control magic. And of course, Cloud, he has his trusty sword. And the best thing is that you don't actually need to use any of that whatsoever. Like I said, if you actually control and understand the material within this game, you can set up your character so strong. All you ever need to do within this game is simply attack. It's kind of crazy. It's something that I didn't see the first couple of times through playing this game. And it's something that I learned as I developed, through my play style within the game. And I've spent a lot of time within these games. JRPGs, Final Fantasy games in general, I absolutely love them. It's a great franchise, and it's one that I hope to see get back on track. Personally, I didn't like the last one that was brought out, but these games are so in depth, and I really do think that if you've never played these games before, maybe it's something that you should have a little look-see at, because these games will remind you why gaming was so good back then. And we are talking a very long time ago. You know, we're talking no internet access type of days. There's no DLCs or expansions or loot boxes or anything that's bad about gaming today. It wasn't there, because if you brought a game, it was a complete game. There was even, you know, there was a main story arc, a huge main story arc, but there was loads of little mini side quests that you could pick up and do as well. They weren't compulsory, they weren't necessarily part of the story, but were the things that you could do that were rewarding, and it took you time and effort to actually get them done. And one of those side quests really is the chocobas. Now, when I very first played this, I was very, very young, and so I loved this idea of running around on this bird. It was really unique to the time as well. This is like an open world RPG, one of the very few of its time, maybe even one of the first of its time. And the amount of freedom that this game actually gave you once you actually got out of Midgard and into the actual open world. You got your own ship that you could explore. You could run around on your chocobo. There were little cities to, you know, go and visit and explore. And of course, all of the GFs, maybe 4 of them were almost compulsory. You kind of like, the game kind of gave them to you. The rest of the Guardian forces within this game, you actually had to go out and track down on your own back. Now, again, one of the great things about this game, we'll never experience it again today, but it was a word of mouth play. You know, you'd go up to your friend and be like, hey, you know, do you know how to get this? Do you know how to get that? Or do you know how to get the Knights of the Realm? Oh, getting the Knights of the Realm back in the day was so hard. It took me personally so long to find out how to get that Guardian Force. But of course, today, you know, you get a touch of the button, you get all the information about a game instantly, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. But the depth of this game for the age that it is, and even in today's market, I think this game will hold up against most games. At the end of the day, being a good game isn't about your graphics, it's about the actual content within this game, and you will not find a more in-depth RPG than Final Fantasy VII, in my opinion. And that is why this game earns an 8 out of 10. Now, again, that is a massive score, especially on our channel. It's one of the biggest scores, again, of this year, but it is highly worth that score. I very much doubt I will play a game as good as this game this year, or a game that comes out this year. Unfortunately, games of today are expected to do one thing and one thing only, and that is make money, and as much money as you could possibly do. You very rarely get a complete game like this. Now, of course, I'm not saying that this game was perfect. Of course it wasn't perfect. It had its flaws, but what it did deliver was an amazing story, an amazing experience. So for anyone that hasn't played it, if you've got Game Pass, check out this game. It's going to be worth your time. It's going to be worth your effort, and it's a lot of fun. So let me know down in the comments what you think of this game, what you think of the review, and I'll do my very best to get back to each and every one of you. If you did enjoy this video, then please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and if you want to find another way to support the channel, you could always jump over to Facebook, follow us there, or buy me a coffee. I'll put all the links down in the description. And guys, I've been a monk, and I'll catch you later.